They present a contribution titled Transforming Urban Spaces Through Sustainable Agriculture and Integrated Analysis and Decision Perspective. So the floor is yours. You have 15 minutes when 5 minutes is interview, and then we have 5 minutes for a question.
Grazie. Good morning, everyone. We are here today to present our work as a farmer group in collaboration with Alta Scuola Politecnica. Our team is a multidisciplinary group. In fact, we are composed of different backgrounds, starting with an architect, a designer, urban planners, and engineers. In this section, we're going to speak about transforming urban strategies and sustainable practices. The presentation starts with an introduction and background, and then we present our methodology that we have implemented and the application of the case study of Magazzini Raccordati, and we're going to end with the conclusions and discussions. The starting point of our work is the growing needs of healthy and accessible food, especially in urban environments. In fact, as highlighted by many associations as the United Nations, by 2030, the 60% of the world population will live in cities, and this reflects in increasing needs and disadvantages for fragile groups, especially. Our goal is to work on this necessity. In fact, we focus on enhancing food security and community cohesion in the area of Milan through the use of urban vertical farming structures by transforming abandoned space into a sustainable and innovative hub. The four main pillars of our work are the enhancing food security, while at the same time also working on creating community cohesion and social integration. And we foster urban farming network among the different kind of citizens and neighbor revitalization. The methodology is based on a multi-method approach that involves three different types of tools. The first one is the SWOT analysis, followed by the stakeholder analysis, and the last one is the ecosystem services evaluation that we use in different stages of the project. In fact, the first step is the preliminary assessment that we performed over 4 different areas. There are the 4 potential locations in Milano. This step includes different kind of tools like site visits, mapping, and interviews. The second step goes deeper into the analysis with a detailed analysis of the selected area. In fact, we decided to focus only on one site, that is the Magazzini Raccordati, close to the Milan Central Station. And in this case, we use both the SWOT analysis and the stakeholder analysis. The last step is the evaluation step. In fact, we developed 3 different scenarios for our area, and we performed an evaluation over them through the use of the ecosystem services tool.
So as we were seeing, the second step involved a SWOT analysis and a stakeholder analysis. The SWOT analysis was conducted at the beginning on the different 4 areas to understand better which were the strengths, weaknesses, threats, and opportunities of the 4 of them. And it's used for assessing both internal and external factors that influence the project by these 4 characteristics. The stakeholder analysis is very important in this case because of the complexity and the multidimensionality of the approach, and that's where the analysis focuses on the actors that are involved or interest in the process by highlighting the capacity that they have to affect the diffusion or inhibition of the strategies. The ecosystem services evaluation, on the other hand, is something that can be used at the end of the process, but that we decided to involve in the evaluation itself because we thought that could be helpful for us to understand better how to assess and to go on with the decision-making process. And at the end of the first SWOT analysis, we decided to focus on the Magazzini Raccordati area, which is an area strictly connected to the Centrale Station of Milan. And it's a huge area, 40,000 square meters, that is now abandoned and need to be refunctionalized and revitalized by a new strategy and a new approach. So as we were seeing, the main strengths and opportunities are strictly connected to the network and to the connections that the area has in the middle of Milan. And so, for example, these kind of strengths are related to the public transportation as much as the number of activities that are related to the station and that are at the beginning of this huge area. And the opportunities are more related to the physical aspects of the structures and the existing but in need of implementation organization. So the stakeholder analysis is something that we decided to implement in a power interest matrix that is useful to understand better the relation that the stakeholder has with the project. So, for example, the Comune di Milano, the private investors, and the UVF technology providers will be the key players of our project, and restaurants, education institutions, health organizations, citizens using the services are all stakeholders that, even if of low power, needs to be informed of the entire process because of their high interest. And then construction companies still need to be satisfied because of the high power in the process, and food industry companies and future residents are still involved, even if their role is a minor role. The specialized SWOT analysis was very useful for us to understand the territorial relation between the different strengths, weaknesses, opportunity, and threats. And we can see how, for example, the Naviglio Martesana, which is a part of the blue infrastructure of Milan, has played an important role both in the strengths and opportunities because of its role in the historical and current role of the city. And for example, threats that we underlined is the entire neighborhood, for example, for the risk of gentrification that was already a problem in the nearby area.
After the evaluation phase, we then proceeded with the design phase. We developed 3 different scenarios, each of them trying to address 3 different topics. The first one is focused on the local community engagement and social cohesion by having a local food market and agri-educational labs. These labs are focusing on providing and teaching job opportunities to vulnerable groups. The second scenario is the one marketed oriented and has a local market, restaurants and cafe. Its goal is to have a circular system of food production and economic fulfillment. The third scenario is the one focusing on research and innovation and has different research hubs and partnership with universities. We used the evaluation phase for defining our scenarios based on the SWOT analysis and the stakeholder analysis. The SWOT analysis was useful for defining strengths and opportunities for each scenarios, while the stakeholder analysis was important in defining the needs for each stakeholder. So for this reason, we were able to address their needs and their opportunities through practical scenarios. We then proceeded with the ecosystem services evaluation of our 3 scenarios. Here we can see that scenario number 1 scored highest with provisioning services and cultural services. This is due to their social and agricultural lab and the local market. Scenario number 2 scored highest with the provisioning services with its restaurants and cafe, while scenario number 3 scored highest with its supporting services thanks to research hubs and innovation hubs. By creating this evaluation, we understood that independently they couldn't answer to the needs that we identified. So for this reason, we decided to create an hybrid scenario. This hybrid scenario is based with a market, a local UEF production, workshop, research hubs, and restaurants and cafe. To conclude, we can say that the strength of our analysis is the multi-method approach of our work. On the other hand, the limitation is mainly the fact that we used mainly a qualitative approach. So in the next step, we can implement it with a quantitative analysis that will provide a key step for our work. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you so much for your presentation. Someone has some questions?
Yes. Just a curiosity, thank you so much for this very, very interesting work. I just wondering to know why have you decided to not include in the alternative assessment scenarios the state of the art, so the zero option? Can you please motivate this choice, please?
So the final scenario.
The state of the art.
The state of the art.
Just
because
to
we
understand the motivation.
I think because of the structure of the presentation, we focused on the second part of our work, while at the beginning we did this analysis just on maybe for our knowledge, let's say. And we understood that because it's an area that it's in need of a deep renovation, most of the analysis results in underlining a lack of basically every kind of service. And so we thought that it was not effective for this presentation to underline it.
Okay, just to give you a suggestion for the future, when you have to present, for example, to the citizens or specific targets, you must enhance the trade-off between the state of the art and the potential pathway to enhance and strengthen your recommendation and your product design solutions.
Of course.
Thank you. It's very interesting.
Thank you.
Also, if I can add, this work is just a part of a more complex work. So we started by doing an analysis of 4 different areas. So we did the state of the art of 4 different areas, and then we focused on magazzini raccordati. So we created actually the state of the art of 4 different areas, and then decided to focus on the magazzini raccordati and developed the 3 scenarios.
Probably once we will have a final scenario to do the comparison would be a good ending of the entire process. Thank you.
Thank you so much. There is other questions? Okay.
Just a curiosity, when you mentioned the ecosystem service assessment, in the process, and provisioning especially, but also cultural ecosystem services, I didn't perceive which kind of assessment you included in the study, if it is qualitative, quantitative, if you use a specific tools, because you are working in a suburban area scale, and so your intervention includes some specific facilities for producing local vegetables.
Yes.
Like that.
Yes.
Yes. This work was focused mainly on the qualitative assessment, so also the scores that we define for each scenario are based on a qualitative analysis, and based on the presence of, for example, a local market or a restaurant, we decided to put a higher score to, for example, for reasoning services, while if we had also research hubs with supporting services, or for the workshops and cultural labs, we put a higher score for the cultural services. Actually, now we're working on the quantitative analysis, so we're going on with this part, but we still have not finished, so it's gonna be in the future we will include it.
Okay, so thank you so much for your presentation. So I ask the next presenter to come. The next contribution is titled Multi-Criteria Rating Model for Evaluating the Attractiveness of Medium-Sized Italian Cities, by Cosentino, Federico Dell'Anna, and Marta Del Lobo. And Federico Dell'Anna will present the presentation.
Thank you for the presentation. Che cosa devo fare? Ma secondo me è un problema di risoluzione. Okay, so good morning to everyone. I am Federico Dell'Anno from Politecnico di Torino, and today I will share with you joint research with two colleagues from Politecnico di Milano, Francesco Cosentino and Marta Dell'Ovo. In this research, we focus on the investigation of the attractiveness of the medium cities in Italy. In particular, we try to define an index in order to evaluate the attractiveness of this kind of urban settling. So let me start with our presentation outline. I will explain the goal of this research. After, I will present the methodological approach that is grounded on three main phases. After, I will present the preliminary results of this application, of the application of this methodological framework, and finally, we will discuss the conclusion and the future perspective. So, with this, the context of the research, we know that in 2008, we lived in the first urban century in human history, when the global population, in the rate of the global population that live in the city, become bigger than the population that live in the rural. This create different challenges for the urban context, in particular for the medium city size, because they face problem in terms, for example, demographic stagnation, brain drain, age infrastructure, and struggle to maintain competitiveness in order to capture investment from outside. But what is medium-sized Italian cities? In the literature, the scholars define this like l'Italia di mezzo, in between cities, in between Italy, because these urban contexts are not fully urban, but they are not rural. So this is a very complex context in terms of infrastructure, economic aspects, social challenges, and so on. And so for this reason, we focus on this specific research question that comes from a real question that from the Ufficio Studio Gabetti, settled in Milan, one of the most famous real estate agency in Italy. This is a joint research with this research center that combine the academic approach that give from us, from me and Marta, and an operational perspective, an industrial perspective that come from the expert of the Gabetti office. But what are the two main questions of this research? In particular, we focus more to understand which are the performance indicators that give us an idea about the competitiveness of the city and the ability of this city to attract real estate investment from outside. And another research question that we try to answer is to identify some strategies that can help this city in order to solve the problem that can arise with this change of the idea of the city by a structured and transparent approach based on a multi-criteria analysis. And in particular, to construct this index in order to assess the attractiveness of these cities. We focus on 39 municipalities that are located in Italy that have the characteristic of medium-sized cities. In particular, we focus on cities with a population, a residential population, that range from 100,000 and 400,000